another great edition of Mississippi Stories. I'm your host, Marshall Ramsey. I'm editor-at-large and editorial cartoonist for Mississippi Today. I tell you what, I love this quote right here. I'm going to read you a quote off my handy-dandy notebook. I know we all do better when we put community interest above self-interest. Philanthropy is a representative of those values. It's a reminder that when you learn, you teach. When you get, you give. Well, the guy who said that quote is sitting right next to me. I don't even know if you remember saying that. That's a brilliant quote. I love that. We got Gregory Johnson. He's the CEO and president of the Foundation for the Mid-South. Recently minted. I guess you started back last October. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. And I have to be honest, a part of that quote is mine.
Okay, good.
The latter part of the quote is Dr. Maya Angelou, who always just encouraged us that when you get, you give, when you learn, you teach.
Yeah, and I should know better on that one. So, oh, that's all right. I just completely plagiarized her. Yeah. Okay, but you should have said, no, that was all mine. What could go wrong on that? Brilliant quote, though. Like I said, brilliant on her part, brilliant on yours. And like I said, and I think we really do need to go about 3 different directions on this interview. We got about 22 minutes. I think, obviously, your story is pretty incredible. The fact that you're sitting here right now is a great story in its own right. I could probably talk to you for like 5 hours about that, but we'll touch on that. Obviously, the work of the foundation, been doing it for 35 years, based right here in Jackson, Mississippi, but you cover Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana. And I love the way that y'all view your mission is that basically need is not constrained by boundaries.
That's right.
And I think y'all do some great work on that front. And I think too, recently you had a real great, you paid for admission to the Mississippi 2 museums, which I will be the first to tell everybody, if you have not been to the Mississippi 2 museums, go, okay?
Yes,
fantastic.
Please go.
Because it does such an incredible job telling our story openly and honestly. And to be honest with you, you have to have that frame of reference before you can have a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, you have to know the quote comes from Maya Angelou before you can make a good comparison.
I think you know as well that information matters so much.
That's right. And we live in an age, information's kind of, people are coming into a conversation with their own set of facts.
Yeah, it's the world we live in right now. Yeah. But we can reimagine it and recreate it. Yeah. It's been reimagined and recreated many times, and I think we have an excellent opportunity to move forward, not only in Mississippi, but regionally, again, in Arkansas and Louisiana. So I'm very proud to lead the Foundation for the Mid-South that for more than 35 years has been investing in local people's ability to create solutions for themselves, their families, and their communities. And in that 35 years, it's been able to resource this region with more than $800 million.
That's incredible.
And so when you think about the impact that the foundation has already been able to achieve, I'm really excited about the opportunities that are before us and the opportunities that are going to happen in the coming future.
When did you know this was the line of work you were going to do?
I don't know exactly when I knew that this was the line of work that I was going to do. I knew that I went to Tougaloo College, which sits right outside the capital city of Jackson. Very storied history in the civil rights movement. Historically, has produced a great many doctors and lawyers. And I'm a recovering lawyer.
George Washington University.
That's right. Go Colonials. Yeah. But what I'll say is that a friend of mine who leads the Mississippi Southern Poverty Law Center, we went to Tougaloo together, and at least our first year, I said to her, and she'll verify this, that, I'm gonna go to law school, I think I'll be a good lawyer, but ultimately I'm gonna work in philanthropy. I was like, there's so many good people doing good work, and they don't have the resources they need to scale that work and to grow that work and to bring so many other people off the sidelines and onto the playing field to get us from where we are to where we need and want to be. And so at least by the first year of college, I knew that ultimately I would be I describe it as a community practitioner of philanthropy, but I knew that I wanted to be helpful in resourcing people and organizations that were really investing in families and communities.
Be a coach.
Maybe, yeah.
No, that's what you're. That's what you're doing. And like I said, you. I'm just thinking about all the different jobs you've had. Tell some of the different types of work you've done, because like I said, you look backwards and you're like, okay, it's not a really shock that you're sitting here.
Yeah, no, so I typically say that there have been 3 stages of my professional career.
Yeah.
The first was as a community organizer. So in about the 7th or 8th grade, I started working with community organizations, principally what was called Citizens for Quality Education at the time, which is now Knowledge Jenkins Family Life Center in Holmes County, Mississippi. And we were really focused on early childhood literacy and numeracy. And so I was a tutor in an after-school reading program. But as a part of that work, we began to think about the policy implications and began, going to school board meetings and going to supervisory board meetings, because we had a lot of illegal dump sites in our communities and we wanted them cleaned up, and we wanted playgrounds, right? And so that led to, when I was in college, working with a statewide racial justice organization and doing a lot of policy work around full funding of the Mississippi Adequate Education Plan, or school funding, and thinking about what are the appropriate bumps for children who are at risk, and also working on census and redistricting and voting rights issues. And so from there, I went off to law school, and right after law school, I became a community lawyer who cut my teeth representing young people and advocating for young people who had been tried and sentenced as adults, and really working on a lot of school to prison pipeline issues. So working with the American Bar Association and the National Dignity in Schools campaign, authored the first model student code for school districts and folks to adopt, kind of thing. And from there, I got a call that the Kellogg Foundation would have me help live out my childhood dream, if you will, at least my young adult dream of working in philanthropy, and join the Mississippi New Orleans team at Kellogg. And so did some really good work there in New Orleans and on the Gulf Coast in Sunflower County and here in Jackson, Mississippi, working on a portfolio that was really focused on family, economic security, and early childhood education. And from there, I've worked with a very wealthy congregation doing philanthropy, and most recently, before coming to the Foundation for the Mid-South, ran as the managing director, the U.S. Equity and Economic Opportunity Practice at the Rockefeller Foundation in New York. And one of the things I'm most proud of from my time at Rockefeller is that I added the city of Jackson to our giving imprint. And so Jackson officially became one of what we called the Rockefeller Opportunity Cities, one of our rock cities, right, while I was at Rockefeller. And recently, 5 months ago, got the awesome opportunity to come back home and to take all of those things, from having been a community organizer and being a community lawyer and now a community practitioner of philanthropy, to lead one of the best Southern philanthropies that I know of.
I know. I was noticing you had written for Empower Magazine an article about the Flint water crisis.
Yes.
Little did you know, but speaking of Jackson, that it would be here too. But like I said, the fact that you got Jackson on that came in a good time.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, that article actually was focused on Flint, but even then it referenced that there were, crises in Jackson and other cities that, were facing infrastructure issues. And so my point was to say that this is representative of a problem that lots of other communities are having, and that we need to start thinking about it from a collective responsibility and a collective impact approach, rather than a one-by-one.
Just chasing it one after the other.
That's right.
Yeah. It's almost like saying, okay, maybe we should think about flood mitigation before, instead of chasing our tail on every place that floods, as the climate change is on that. Great article too. I was able to read that.
My dad would say, don't scatter your shot. And then I'll say something like, well, it depends on what I'm trying to kill.
Exactly. You were awarded the Philanthropist of the Year at the Young, Gifted, and Empowered Awards on February 2020. Not like the world changed right after that. On that, right? You got that banquet in right before the pandemic. But
that's
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big honor. You were like, okay, now what am I going to do next?
Yeah. No, I tell you, it was so exciting for me. I was like many people from where I'm from, raised in the church. And so there's something that people say a lot, is scriptural, is a man is not without honor except in his own house, which means when you are celebrated at home, there's a special feeling about it. And so I've been lucky enough, I guess, privileged enough to receive some awards and to have some honors, but it's one of the ones that stands out because it was, you know, a thank you from the folk in my own backyard, in my own community. So that one was special. So I was really excited about it.
I would say, you know, you got to come back home. Literally, you were raised right at the cusp of the Delta and the hills.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it, right there in Belzona. The heart of the Delta.
Yes, that's right. I've seen the sign.
That's right. Right there in Belzona, the heart of the Delta, and Lexington. And so in Pine Tree Country. And so, you know, grew up very happy, you know? And so there are lots of narratives that get created about people who grow up in communities like the ones I grew up in. The counter message that I always have for people is that I grew up very happy. Like there are things that need to be fixed in all communities, but I count it a point of privilege to have grown up in the Mississippi Delta, in the Mississippi Hill Country, and now to have had all the opportunities that I've had to travel around the world and to resource people in lots of communities across the country. Again, it's always such a good feeling to do it at home and to be celebrated at home and to love the people who've always loved you back.
You know, when I left the South and I came back, I totally had a different appreciation of everything. Because I mean, it's like, I can't wait to get out of here. And then you go, and it was nice, but then I came back and I was like, family. Like, it sounds like you had an incredible family.
Yeah, my family is, I mean, my values are rooted in faith and family and community.
Yeah.
And, you know, you quoted me earlier. It's my soapbox speech to say always put community interest above self-interest. But that's the way we were raised. It was the kind of community where you should be a lawyer because we don't have a lawyer in the community.
That's right.
You should be a doctor because we need a doctor in this community. And some of that was good because what you learned is that although I can go and do many things all around the world, is that there is a usefulness to my doing it at home.
We see flashes of it here. We saw it after 9/11. We saw, you know, it was like when everybody stopped just pulling into their garage and pulling the door down. They paid attention to their neighbors were. They saw who the firemen and the police were. They said thank you. And then on top of that, Katrina, we saw it there because, you know, literally people dropped what they were doing and they went to the coast of chainsaws and they helped people on that. So it was weird, but now we're at a time it seems like where we're just screaming back and forth.
I'll push back on that a little bit, Marshall. In my line of work, I actually see what you're describing every day.
Yeah.
I actually see people who get up every day and who really fight really hard to make sure that every kid is educated to his or her capacity, no matter what community they come from. Yeah. That are fighting to make sure that everyone has bread to eat and to spare, right?
So what you're trying to tell me right now is that social media isn't reality?
Oh, wow. Shocker.
I know.
Right? You know?
No, but that's exactly what you're saying. That there's hope.
Reality.
There's good people out there doing good work.
And the thing that we're fighting to do at the Foundation for the Mid-South is to resource those people so that what they're doing becomes bigger than what people see in alternate realities, that's right? And so in Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana, the three states where we're doing our work, 30% of American poverty is concentrated in these three states, but less than 3% of all philanthropic dollars come into these communities. And so when you look at the opportunity that exists to attack real problems and impact larger amounts of people with the strategies and tactics that you're implementing toward your end goals, right? Then there's a huge opportunity here to resource the people who are getting up and helping their neighbors and doing the best that they know how with the communities that they live in each and every day. And so social media is not reality. There is a lot of bickering and back and forth, right, in the atmosphere. But what I see every day in my line of work are people who get up and really try to make a difference every day. And what I want to do is to continue to advocate as an intermediary that we have the resources in this region so that everyone can dream big and everyone can behave and act differently.
Well, that 30% versus 3% figure also tells me that any money invested into our area will have a huge bang for the buck.
Thank you for clarifying that. Because philanthropy loves the code word of we're worried about scale, and I'm always saying 30% of American poverty is concentrated here. You'll have a larger impact if you resource and invest in this area. I'll also just say that despite receiving less than 3% of the philanthropic spend in the country, look at them go, right? And so much is happening that I want to always just shed light on it. You talked a little bit about our partnership with the two museums.
Yes.
And we recently launched a project called Truth, Racial Healing and Transformation,
I love that.
funded by the Kellogg Foundation. And we're implementing the Mississippi site for this. It's something that's happening across the country, but we're coordinating in Mississippi. We have 6 partners at this point. Millsaps College, Jackson State University, the Alluvial Collective, Neshoba County Youth Coalition. I shouldn't have started calling names because I'm blanking, but most recently though, as of this week, so I can announce it, Tougaloo College has joined us as one of our partners on this work, along with a host of other people. And what that's really about is just an acknowledgement that solutions don't create themselves, right? That solutions don't implement themselves, and that a part of getting to solutions is sometimes having to work with people that you might not want to, that sometimes getting to solutions might mean hearing some things that make you uncomfortable, right? But that these are necessary parts of getting from where we are to where we need and want to be.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I was looking at the four areas where y'all cover: education, health and wellness, wealth building, and community development. God, all those are tied so tightly together.
Yeah,
they really are.
There's a circle, right?
Exactly.
And the truth is that most people who are experiencing issues aren't experiencing just one, right? Most people who are experiencing financial issues are probably also struggling with childcare and education or other things, right?
And if you're not getting a good meal, it's hard to get a good education.
It's hard to get a good education. So again, people don't live, biopic lives, or it's, people are experiencing many different things. And so we want to holistically address the issues in our region and in our communities. And I'm excited about what's to come. I'm so hopeful and excited.
I just, like I said, the deal with the two museums, and I got to interview Michael Morris not long ago. I love Michael. Michael's a great guy. And he's a guy, once again.
He was a student at Jackson State when the museums were being built. And now he's overseeing the museum.
Exactly.
What a story.
What a great story. What a great story on that. And I told him, I said, it like I said, the fact that anybody could have believed that Mississippi would have told its story so honestly.
Yeah.
And it was, pushed through by Haley Barber. And it was like, it was just a great story on that. But they do a great job on that. Talk about the importance of the two museums and why us being able to, I immediately, I take all my kids through there, because I feel like that they need to understand, because I can't have a good conversation with somebody if I don't under the context of where they've been and where I've been.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't have to explain to you at the Pulitzer Prize-winning Mississippi Today how important news and information is to being able to create the solutions that we need. The two museums in Mississippi have had more than 600,000 visitors at this point, right? That's 600,000 people who now have a lens, who can now apply to what they're looking at, an accurate rendering of how we got to where we are. And having an accurate portrayal or rendering of how we got to where we are, it's not about assigning blame to anyone.
That's right.
It's about being accountable to fixing the problems that we've neglected for so long, right? And so that's why it's so important. And we're excited to partner with the two museums and all of our partners to make sure that there's an accurate narrative that leads to, again, a solutions-oriented approach to correcting and healing the harms of the past.
You've been on the job now for about half a year.
Yeah.
Whew. So when you come into a job like that, like I said, you had a good feel for it. You knew the mission, you knew everything else. Do you just kind of sit back and look and watch for a few months, and then you start saying, okay, this is going to be our mission and our future? What stage are you on the leadership?
Well, I'll say this: there was no time to sit back and watch. There was so much that needed to be done. What we are doing is being very intentional about building out our strategy and. I express to the team at the foundation all the time, it's not my work, it's our work, right? And therefore the mission and the vision of the foundation has to be built amongst all of us who are there. And the reason I'm saying that is because we have an excellent program team who implement our programs in education and health and wellness and community development and wealth building. And to speak plainly, you build a house from the foundation up, not from the roof down. And so we are working not only with our program leads, but with community partners and with other organizations who are also on the ground doing good work to figure out where we should play, how we can win, and where our work is additive, right? And not just duplicative or replicating something that isn't getting us farther or closer to what we want to do. And so no time to sit back and relax, but again, very eager and excited about all of the assets that are in our toolbox, right? There's so many assets in our toolbox in Mississippi, and I'm excited to I'm not very handy, but I'm gonna whip out the tools and see what we can build.
But you definitely know good people that have tools.
I know good people.
And you know how to get them together.
And what'd you say? I'm an excellent coach.
You're a good coach.
Yes, sir.
Last couple minutes, is there anything I've left out? Because well, actually there's a ton I've left out, but I mean, is there anything you'd like to touch on that I hadn't brought up?
I don't know that there's anything that I'd like to touch on that you haven't brought up. I'd just like to reiterate that Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas are excellent places for philanthropic investment, and that the Foundation for the Mid-South stands at the ready to lead national and international and statewide partners in resourcing the region in a responsible and an impactful way.
I asked somebody, they had gone off and they'd become successful and they come back and they're doing a lot of work and they're giving a lot to Mississippi. They're doing, boots on the ground work and writing checks work. And I said, why? And he said, it's home.
It's home.
It's home.
Yeah.
And I think that's as good a reason as you could ask for right there.
It's home.
And I tell you, I really enjoy getting to meet you, and I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Thanks
what's the website?
The website is FND, as in foundation, midsouth.org.
Excellent. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hey, and thank you for watching this latest edition of Mississippi Stories. And to see other editions, you can go to MississippiToday.org. And also, there's a lot of great reporting and a few decent cartoons as well. Hey, I'll see y'all next week. Be back and have a great week.